Hello student, good morning. Today we will start the origin of parasitism. Origin of parasitism. Parasitism means parasites live in the body of definitive host and causing different types of diseases, and it completely totally nourishment depend on the host. That is called as parasitism. Parasitism, in the restricted sense of a small organism living on or in and at the expense of a larger one, probably arose soon after life began to differentiate in the world. It would be difficult, if not impossible, to explain step by step the details of the process of evolution by which some of the highly specialized parasites reached their present conditions. Parasitism at times has probably grown out of a harmless association of different kinds of organisms. One of the members of the association, by virtue perhaps of characteristics already possessed, developing the power of living at the expense of the other and ultimately becoming more and more dependent upon it. It is easy to understand the general mechanism by which parasites of the ultimately canal were evolved from free-living organisms which were accidentally or purposely swallowed and which were able to survive in the environment in which they found themselves and to adapt themselves to it. It is also easy to see how some of the parasites might eventually have developed further territorial ambitions and have extended their operations beyond the confines of the alimentary canal. The development of some of the blood protozoa of vertebrates, on the other hand, some clearly to have take place in two steps. First, adaptation of life in the gut of insects, and second, adaptation to the life in vertebrates, fluid or tissues. When inoculate by host with skin piercing and blood sucking habits. Types of parasites. Types of parasites. Parasites is of all kinds and degrees. There are facultative parasites, which may parasitic or free living at will, and obligatory parasites, which must live on or in some other organisms during all or part of their lives, and which perish if prevented from doing so. There are intermittent parasites, which visit and leave their host at intervals. Some, as mosquitoes, visit their host only long enough to get a male. Other as certain lice leave their host only for the purpose of molting and laying eggs. Some exotic never leave their host except for the final eggs laying venture from which there is no return. Ascaris and intestinal protozoa live in one host from the time they hatch from an egg or a cyst until they die, but produce eggs or cysts which escape to be transferred to a new host. Some parasites are such during only part of their life cycle. Botflies, for instance, are parasites only as larvae, hookworms only as adults. The final degree of parasitism is reached in those parasites which live generation after generation on a single host, becoming transferred from host to host only by direct contact. Such are the scab mites and many species of lice. Every gradation is found among all the types of parasites mentioned above. It is sometimes convenient to classify parasites according to the whether they are external or internal. Extends parasites or ectoparasites living on the surface of the body of their host, suck blood or feed upon hair, feathers, skin, or secretion of the skin. Internal parasites living inside the body occupy the digestive tract or other cavities of the body, or live in the various organs, blood tissues, or even within the cells. No sharp line of demarcation can be drawn between external and internal parasites, since inhabitant of the mouth and nasal cavities, and such worms and mites as burrow just under the surface of the skin might be placed in either category. Definitive and intermediate host. What is meant by definitive host? That is, the adult worms live in the body of definitive host, that is vertebrate host, and larval forms or larval stages develop in the body of intermediate host. Intermediate host are invertebrates as well as vertebrate animals also present. Some parasites passes different phases of their life cycle into two or different hosts or more different hosts in few kinds of flukes. Kinds means types of flukes. 4 may be in all. According to the dictionary definition, that host is which parasite reaches sexually maturity is the definitive host, and those in which the undergoes preliminary development are the intermediate host. Strict adherence to this definition, however, leads to some peculiar situations among the protozoa. For example, since the malaria Parasites undergoes sexual reproduction in mosquitoes. The mosquitoes, according to the definition, is the definitive host and man is the intermediate host for trypanosomes. However, if filariform, fairbairn, and Kulvix, this is the scientist, if Fairbairn and Kulvix work on sexual reproduction of blood trypanosomes, is confirmed sissy flies are the intermediate host and man the definitive host. But in the case of leishmania, in which the sexual reproduction occurs, shall we consider man or sandflies the intermediate host? Because of these difficulties, the writer prefers to use the terms definitive and intermediate for vertebrates and arthropods respectively in relation to protozoa, parasites, which alternate in their life cycle between these two types of host, irrespective of where the sexual reproduction, if any, occurs. An alternative is to avoid these terms altogether for protozoa, rickettsia, etc., which multiply in both host, and simply to speak of vertebrate and invertebrate host. Okay, thank you.